Good afternoon, students. Uh, we are going to continue the class that we did last time, and that is, if you remember, it was the poem The Mountain and the Squirrel. Okay, so before continuing with the class, let us do a very quick recap. I think you remember the story of this, the substance of this poem. What is it about? It is about two characters. One is the mountain, and the other is the squirrel. And the mountain is very proud because of its size and because of all the load that it is able to carry. Things it's very strong and powerful. And the squirrel is very humble and wise. It's very small in size, but it is very modest and it is very wise. Okay, so they have a quarrel. The mountain calls the squirrel names. He calls the squirrel little prig of all things. Okay, normally prig means proud, but here he is using it in a very taunting way. If you remember, we had already discussed this in the last class. And then the squirrel remains very cool and he tells the mountain that, see, mountain, I know you are very big and of course you're very powerful. You can carry forests on your back and one can make squirrel tracks, very pretty squirrel tracks on your back. But to make up a ear and a spear, it requires different kinds of things. So variety is what makes up a year. Variety is what makes up the world. So everyone has a place, and so I too have a place in this world. And then the squirrel tells him that we are all differently talented. Okay, we are not all the same, but everyone has a special place, okay, in this earth. And so we should not be, he indicates that we should not be proud, and that is that and it is wisdom to respect everyone and everything. Okay, and he finally says, if I cannot carry forests on my back, even you cannot crack nuts. So there are things that I can do which you cannot do, and there are things that you can do and I cannot do. That is what he says. So this is basically the substance of the mountain and the squirrel. Since I explained this in Assamese in the last class, I am not going to use too much Assamese now. All right, so this is this tiny squirrel and this is the huge mountain, and you can see the forests. Okay, now we are going to move on to the exercises because last time we didn't have time to do too many exercises. We had just done one. We had done activity 1, and if you remember, activity 1 was to do with 3 objects that have been picked up from the poem. What were the 3 objects? The squirrel, the mountain, and the forest. Okay, so your task was to pick out 3 words each that are connected to these 3 main objects. So one column was done for you. So objects connected with the squirrel were the tree, nut, and climb. So what were the objects? What are the objects that you can say that are connected to the mountain? What do you have in the mountains? The trees, isn't it? Then the squirrel also lived in the mountain. Okay, and the mountain was very big, isn't it? The mountain was very big, large. The mountain was large. And what about forest? In the forest, what do you get? You get trees, and then you have nuts which grow on the trees. And what else do you have? You have the squirrel also in the forest. So you can take a look at your poem and then you can answer this question. So let us read the poem once more to proceed with our next activities. Okay, So you remember the name of the poet? Who is the poet of this poem? It is Ralph Waldo Emerson, right? So let us read again, once again, because we have to answer questions connected with this poem. So let us revise or recite the poem once more. The Mountain and the Squirrel by Ralph Waldo Emerson. The mountain and the squirrel, they had a quarrel, and the former called the latter little prig. Bun replied, "You are doubtless very big, but it uh, but all sorts of things and weather must be taken in together to make up a year and a sphere. And I think it is no disgrace to occupy my place. If I am not as large as you, you are not so small as I, and not half so spry. I'll not deny you make a very pretty squirrel track. Talents differ. All is well and wisely put. If I cannot carry forests on my back, neither can you crack a nut. So this was the poem. I hope you remember this poem. So now that is in page 83 of your textbook. So please open your textbooks. I hope you have your textbook open at page 83. And now you can look at the activities. We have already finished activity 1. So now we are going to do activity 2, which are questions that you have to answer after reading the poem. So I have recited it once more for you. You can silently read it to give your answers. What you are going to do is you are going to read the question. I'm going to read the question for you, and you have your exercise books open, and you're going to and your textbook open, and you can think of the answer, and I'll give you 1 minute, and then I will discuss the answers with you. So what is the first question? The question number 2 is, read the poem once again and answer the following question. So we have read it aloud once again, but to answer questions, you have to also read it silently, isn't it? Because now you're going to scan. That means you're going to pick out details. Okay? Why? 2A. Why did the mountain call the squirrel little prig? Okay, so why did the mountain call the squirrel little prig? So what is the answer to 2A? What is the answer to 2A? The mountain was very proud of its size and strength. So he tauntingly called. So tauntingly means in Assamese it will be thatta kori. So he tauntingly called the squirrel little prig. Because it was small in size. Because it was small in size. So that is the answer. The squirrel was very small, the mountain was very big, so the mountain was very proud that it is so big and strong, and so it called the squirrel little prig. Okay? So I think you're done with this answer. So let us now discuss the second question. What is the second question? The second question is, what did the squirrel say to the mountain? What did the squirrel say to the mountain? So you can check your book for your answer. I'll give you a little time. What did the squirrel say to the, what did the squirrel reply, isn't it? So let us now answer. The squirrel replied, the squirrel told the mountain, that it takes all sorts of things and weather to make up a year and a spear, isn't it? So it is no disgrace, therefore it is no disgrace. It is not a matter of shame. It is no disgrace to be small. It is no disgrace to be small. Isn't this what the squirrel told the mountain? Yes, that is basically what it said. So let us now look at question number 2C. Let us look at question number 2C. And what is the question here? 2C is, what are the main differences between the mountains and the squirrel? What are the main differences between the mountain and the squirrel? So you can refer to your textbook. You can look at your textbook for the answer. I'll give you a little time and then we are going to discuss it. Done? Ready? What are the main differences? The mountains, the main differences between the mountain and the squirrel are the following. The mountain is very big, while the squirrel is very small. And what is the other difference? The mountain is proud. The mountain is proud, while the squirrel is modest and wise. Is modest and wise. And what is the third difference? The third difference is the mountain cannot move. The mountain cannot move, while the squirrel is very energetic. That is, the word spry has been used there. And quick. Quick to move. It jumps from tree to tree. It can climb up trees, isn't it? So these are the main differences. The main difference between the mountain and the squirrel. পাৰ্থক্যটো কি mountain আৰু squirrel? Mountain বৰ ডাঙৰ, squirrel সৰু. Mountain বৰ কি কয় বৰ proud আৰু squirrel হৈছে বিনম্ৰ, modest আৰু wise, জ্ঞানী. Mountain লৰচৰ কৰিব নোৱাৰে, squirrel খুব energetic আৰু খুব সোনকালে দৌৰা-দৌৰি কৰি ফুৰিব পাৰে. Okay, so now let us look at question number 2D. So there is a quotation here. Quotation মানে within inverted comma যদি তুমি টেক্সটৰ পৰা লাইন উঠাই দিয়ে বা কোনবাই উদ্ধৃতি বুলি কয় নহয়, so যদি টেক্সটৰ লাইন উঠাই দিয়ে within inverted comma হুবহু উঠাই দিয়ে হেতুকে কয় quotation. So ইয়াতে quotation এটা আমি পাইছো. What is this quotation? It says, if I am not so large as you, you are not so small as I, and not half so spry. I'll not deny you make a very pretty squirrel track. Who said these lines and to whom? ডাঙৰ হলে তোমালোকক এইবিলাক reference to context question বুলি কয়, তো তোমালোকে হেতু তেতিয়া জানিবা. এটা সৰু হৈ আছে ইমান জানিলে হ'ল যে তোমালোকক এই উদ্ধৃতিটো এই quotationটো তোমালোকক টেক্সটৰ পৰা উলিয়াই দিছে আৰু তোমালোকে এইটো চিনি পাইছান নাই, হেতু তাৰ বিষয়ে বস্তুটো জানিছান নাই, বুজিছান নাই, হেতু তোমালোকক প্ৰশ্ন কৰিছে. কৈছে who said these lines and to whom? So এই লাইন এই শাৰী কিটা কোনে কৈছে, এই শাৰী এই শাৰী কথা কোনে কৈছে, and to whom আৰু কাক কৈছে. So ইয়াতে দুটা কথা লাগে. এটা হৈছে তোমালোকে চিনাক্ত কৰিব পাৰিব লাগিব যে এইটো কোনটো. Obviously এতিয়াতো আৰু এটা কবিতাই কৰি আছো, কিন্তু পৰীক্ষাত হলে তোমালোকে জানিব পটককে চিনাক্ত কৰিব লাগিব যে কোনটো লেসনৰ পৰা কোনটো পাঠৰ পৰা এইটো আহিছে. আৰু তাৰপিছতে অলপমান ভালকে লেসনটো জানিলে কোনে কৈছে কি কথা হেবিলাক ক'বলৈ অসুবিধা তোমালোকৰ নহয়. সেইকাৰণে তোমালোকে যেতিয়া লেসনবোৰ পঢ়িবা নহয় খৰচি মাৰি পঢ়িবা, অকল পিছফালৰ কোৱেশ্চন কিটা পঢ়ি নথবা নহয়, তেতিয়া তোমালোকৰ একো অসুবিধা নহব. So what is the answer to this question? Who said these lines and to whom? So these lines, answer to আমি দিও to the question number 2D. These lines were said by Muskai Gol 2D. These lines were said by the squirrel to the mountain. হয়নে? তোমাৰ answer আমাৰ answer মিলিছে নে? Are your answers matching with mine? They are, I'm sure. So these lines were spoken by the squirrel to the mountain. Now let us look at question number E. The word former means the first one out of two, and the word latter means the second one out of two. So আমি এইটো lesson to কৰোতে in the last class we had discussed it. We had said that when you have in the previous line, when two characters or two objects or two things are mentioned, then in the second line one does not repeat the same names. So look at this in the textbook. If you look at the textbook, you will see that the mountain and the squirrel had a quarrel, and the second line says the former called the latter little prig. So instead of repeating, let me just take you back to the poem. Here it is. So if you look at the poem, you will see the mountain and the squirrel had a quarrel. The mountain and the squirrel had a quarrel. Okay? And in the second line, again, the poet is referring to the mountain and the squirrel. So it will be very repetitive to use the same words, mountain and squirrel. So in place of mountains, the two objects mentioned here, the mountain and the squirrel, 1 and 2. So the poet does not want to repeat the same words in the next line. So what does he do? He uses the former for the first object that has been mentioned in the previous line. This is the previous line. And for the second, he uses the word latter. So in your question, it is also explained that the word former means the first one out of the two. The word former means the first one out of the two that is previously mentioned, and the word latter is the second one out of the two that is previously mentioned, that is mentioned in the previous line. So I hope you are clear. So in place, so this is almost like a pronoun, isn't it? In place of mountain, you use the former because the mountain has been the word referred to first, and in place of the squirrel, you use the word latter. Okay? So I have Rima and Rani are sisters. Rima and Rani are sisters. Then instead of again saying Rima and Rani, so you can say like Rima and Rani are sisters. Okay. Now again, instead of saying Rima and Rani, in place of Rima, you can say the former is tall while the latter is short. So now you understand how the word former and latter is used. So similarly in this poem, the mountain and the squirrel had a quarrel. The poet has written for the mountain, he's used the former, and for the squirrel, he has used the latter. Okay. So the question is, and the question I have already told you the question. The question is, I've told you the answer. What is the question? The former called the latter little prig. So who is the former and who is the latter? So I have already discussed the answer with you. So the former is the mountain, and the latter is the squirrel. And I have already explained to you why. The former is the mountain, because the mountain has been referred to first in the poem and the squirrel has been referred to later in the poem, in the first line. Okay. So this is the answer to question number 2D. So now we are going to look at question number 2F. So we're going to look at question number 2F. And what is the question? The question is, this is 2F. The question is, write down the lines from the poem that mean the following. So now again, you have to read the poem. You have to scan the poem. Remember, while doing, I had done a class, those of you who attended it, I had done a class on reading comprehension. And we had talked about two things that you have to do for reading comprehension. One is scanning and one is skimming, that is reading very quickly, okay, to get a gist of the paragraph that you are reading. and the other is scanning. So তোমালোকৰ মনত আছে চাগে যিসকল ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰীয়ে তোমালোকে উপস্থিত আছিলা হেতু মোৰ আগৰ ক্লাছ এটা ৰিডিং কম্প্ৰিহেনশ্যনত কৰিছিলো তাত কৈছিলো স্কিমিং আৰু স্কেনিংৰ বিষয়ে কৈছিলো স্কেনিংত মানে আমি ডিটেইলছ ইনফৰমেশ্যন বিচাৰো আৰু স্কিমিংত আমি এনে ওপৰৰ পৰা গোটেইখিনি পঢ়ি পেলাই থুলমূলকে এটা ধাৰণা লওঁ যে যিটো পেৰাগ্ৰাফ বা যিটো পঢ়িছো টেক্সটটো হেতু কিহৰ বিষয়ে So এতিয়া তোমালোকে কি কৰিব লাগিব skim নে scan what do you have to do now for this you have to scan so write down the lines from the poem which mean the following the poem to চাব লাগিব first you have to read the question what is the question you have to write down the lines from the poem you have to look at the poem and you have to pick out lines from the poem which mean the following okay so what is the first question the squirrel is not as big as the mountain, and the mountain is not even half as energetic as Bun. So which line in the poem has this meaning? Which line in the poem says this? Says that the squirrel is not as big as the mountain, and the mountain is not half as energetic as Bun. So this is something I'll give you again a minute or two to scan your textbook, your poem in page 83 and to come up with the answers. And what is the second one? Second is everyone is unique in their own way. People have different skills and everything is put very wisely. Where will you find, in which line will you find this meaning? Okay, then the which line means this one. Everyone is unique in their own way. People have skills and everything is put wisely. And the third one is to make a year and a revolution around the sun, all types of things and weather must be taken into consideration. So I'll give you 1 minute to read through very quickly. This is a very simple poem, so you will find it very easily. So have you found the lines? Okay, so here you'll find this in line number 11 to 12. So what is the answer? The line from the poem is, if I am not so large as you, you are not so, sorry. The squirrel is not as big as the mountain and the mountain is not half as energetic as Bun. So this is from 11 to 13. So it says, if I am not so large as you, you are not so small as I and not half so spry. So this is the line. If I am not so large as you, you are not so small as I, and not half so spry. So have you found these lines? These lines you will find in the poem. The lines are line 11 to line 13. So now, where will you find the next one? The next, everyone is unique in their own way. People have different skills and everything is put very wisely. Where are you going to find this? So you can look at the poem, look at the last line of the poem, and then you can move upwards. So it is the third line from the bottom. Third line from the bottom. Third line. Third line from the bottom. So let us count from the top. Which line will that be? Line number let us count line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Here you are. Talents differ, okay, and all is well and wisely put. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this is the 17th line. So in the 17th line, you will find the line which has this meaning. You'll find the line which has this meaning. This is line number 17. And what is that line? That line is talents differ, talents differ, all is well, and wisely put. All is well and wisely put. So I hope you are all able to find this line. Okay, so now let us do the last one. We have to find the line which means to make a year and a revolution around the sun, all types of things and weather must be taken into consideration. So now let us very quickly read the poem once again, scan for this information. Okay, so where will we find this? Which line? Again, let us look at the poem. Here you are. So the poem says, line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is line number 6, 7, 8, and 9. 6, 7, 8, and 9. So here you have line number 6, 7, 8, and 9. Line number 6 to 9. Okay, line 6 to 9 mean this. Mean that to make a year and a revolution around the sun, all types of weather, all types of things and weather must be taken into consideration. So let us write this line. But all sorts of weather all sorts of things, all sorts of things, all sorts of things and weather must be taken in together to make up a year and a sphere. To make up a year and a sphere. Okay, so that is easy, isn't it? Not very difficult. বেছি দিগদাৰি নাছিলে নহয় কৰিবলে যে ইয়াৰ এই বাক্যকিটাৰ যিটো অৰ্থ সেই অৰ্থটো কবিতাৰ কোনকিটা লাইনত আমি পাম So আমি এনেকে ভালকে স্ক্যানিং কৰিলো স্ক্যানিং মানে আমি ইনফরমেশনটো বিচাৰি পেলাই আমি পঢ়িলো পঢ়াৰ পিছত তেতিয়া আমি গণতি কৰিলো কোনকিটা লাইনৰ কোনকিটা নম্বৰত আছে কোন নম্বৰ লাইনত আছে আৰু তাৰপিছত আমি হিকিটা লিখি দিলো so how will you answer this that this you first you have to in your notebook you first write down this line and then you write that this line is found in line number whichever line that we already did line number 11 line number 9 line number 6 whatever it is that this is found in accordingly you have to write okay so you can write let me do one for you then you can do the rest again 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 okay so you have to write first you have to write this line and then you say this is found in line numbers 11 to 13 of the poem and then if you wish you can go ahead and write down the lines you can quote the lines and similarly you can do the other answers so now let us look at question number 3 let us read question number 3 what is question number 3 question number 3 says read the following lines but all sorts of things and weather must be taken in together to make up a year and a sphere all sorts of things and weather so question number 3 what have you been asked to do you've been asked to read the following lines you have been asked to read these lines and after reading these lines you have to think and tell why the poet talks about a year and a sphere why do you think we already discussed it isn't it so the answer is what is the answer the answer in short is that the poet wants to help us understand that it takes a variety of things to make up a year and the world. That means, let me rewrite it for you. The poet wants to say that it takes a variety of seasons to make up a year and a variety number it takes a number of seasons to make up a year and a variety of things to make up a world so the poet talks about a year and a sphere to help us understand that it takes a number of seasons to make up a year and a variety of things to make up the world Sorry for my handwriting. So let me explain this in detail to help you understand the answer to this question in detail. I'll just go back to the substance that we had done in story form. If you remember in our last class, here it is. So you remember that Mantun was very proud, and then let us see what the squirrel answered. The squirrel said that this world is made up of many different kinds of things. পৃথিৱীখন বিভিন্ন ধৰণৰ বস্তুৰে গঠিত. For example, উদাহৰণস্বৰূপে, there are mountains, valleys, deserts, পাহাৰ আছে, উপত্যকা আছে, তাৰপিছতে হেৰি আছে, কি কয়, deserts আছে, মৰুভূমি আছে, there are ponds, lakes, seasons, oceans, there are different kinds of living and non-living things, there are birds can fly, fishes can swim. So there are different kinds of human beings, everyone is different. So a variety of things make up this world that we call the earth, isn't it? And even a year is made up of different seasons, isn't it? The year is not made up of the same kind of seasons. You have spring, then you have summer, then you have autumn, and then you have winter, isn't it? So you have the year, you have spring, summer, autumn, winter. And not so you have these are the different seasons. But even apart from the seasons, the year is made up of different kinds of months, isn't it? You have January, February, March, April, right up to December. Then you have different kinds of days. So this whole year is made up of a variety of things, isn't it? It's made up of a variety of seasons. It is made up of a variety of things. All right. So to help us understand that, the poet uses this. He talks about the year and the sphere. So that is what you have to include in your answer. So just to help you understand the answer more clearly, I went back to that substance. So the answer here will be that the poet talks about a year and a sphere to explain that, not to explain, but to help us understand, that a number of seasons make up a year, and a variety of things, both living and non-living. You don't have to write that. I'm just writing it to help you understand the answer. Living and non-living make up this world. So you can write it in a short form. I'm just writing it a little in detail. Make up this world to help you understand what this question is all about. So এইটো question to কি যে এই poet ইয়াৰ আৰু স্ফিয়াৰৰ বিষয়ে কিয় কৈছে সো তোমালোকক এই সাবষ্টেন্সটো যেতিয়া তোমালোকৰ লগত ডিসকাস কৰিছো তেতিয়া আমি কৈছো যে এটা বছৰটো একে সমান একে ধৰণে নাযায় নহয় এটা বছৰত বিভিন্ন ধৰণৰ ঋতু আছে সো ভিন্নতাই হৈছে এটা বছৰৰ লক্ষণ হয় না পূৰ্ণ বছৰটো ভিন্নতা আমি দেখো ঠিক তেনেকে আমি গোটেই পৃথিৱীখনতো ভিন্নতা দেখো সো ভিন্নতা হৈছে এটা বাস্তৱ আমাৰ পৃথিৱীৰ সো সেই কথাটো বুজাবৰ কাৰণে কবিয়ে এই sphere আৰু year উদাহৰণটো দিছে সো উত্তৰটো হেতুই বুজিলা so now we come to the next question number 4 so here are some sentences related to the poem which sentences are true and which sentences are not true so kunkita baikyo tolot dia baikyo kunkita shuddha nohoy correct the ones which are wrong and write the correct sentences in your notebook so jikita bhul wa hekita tumalke shuddha kori dibo koise aru shuddha baikyo kita aso tumalke notebookot likhibo koise so let us read the first sentence the mountain called the squirrel little prig true or false yes it is true so you have to write this sentence The squirrel told the mountain that it wasn't a disgrace to be small. Squirrel mountain kole je horu hoatu eko lajjar kotha nohoy, okhonmanor kotha nohoy. To true ne false? To true. The mountain is not as spry as the squirrel. Mountain to squirrel or homan energetic nohoy. Spry mane energetic. To true ne false? To true. Mountain is lorsor koribo nware. Hane nohoy. The squirrel can carry a forest on its back. Squirrel pichit হাবি কঢ়িয়াব পাৰে এটো ট্ৰু নে ফলস এটো ট্ৰু নহয় এটো ফলস তেতিয়া কি কারেক্ট টু তোমালকে লিখিব লাগিব কারেক্ট টু কি হ'ব the mountain can carry a forest on his back বা the squirrel cannot carry a forest on his back so this is the right sentence okay so aji time is up so we will discuss the remaining questions in our next class I will end the class today so this is basically there I don't think this class needs a recap because it's all about question and answers so please do write your answers if you have not already written since I have given you and discussed the answers with you please write them in your exercise books read the poem very carefully and answer and then be prepared okay prepare the lesson well so thank you